The timelines have changed. In March, the earth shook. In April, the structures will come down. Are these Trump's final days? Here's my April psychic forecast. The first thing that I'm seeing is further destabilization of the U.S. government and governments around the world. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I'll let you guys decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I'll have a lot more to say about Trump a little bit later on. But firstly, understand that everything's fluid. Timelines are always fluid. And through raising collective consciousness, we can actually mitigate some of these shocking things that I'm about to tell you in this video. So this is not doom and gloom, and this is not to invoke fear. It's to help you to understand these energies and to prepare and to let's work together to enhance the good and to mitigate some of the bad and some of the more challenging stuff. So let me get into this. We see the financial systems, the banking systems breaking down. I had a vision of a full depression, I have to say. A recession, depression later in the spring, but maybe beginning in April. But understand that there's still time to turn that around. This is when I get visions, basically I'm seeing things, possible futures based on the energies of the now. But if you change the energies of the now, it changes the timelines in the future. That's how it works. So always be aware, be cognizant of the challenges and the negative, but open the heart and place the focus on the positive, and let's raise consciousness. Let's put a lot of prayers out there and know that God, Spirit, Source, the one that created us, as well as our guides, maybe the extraterrestrials, they're guiding our development, they're guiding humanity. And what we found through the years with prophecy is that a lot of the things come true, but not as bad as predicted. And that goes back from Revelation to Mayan prophecy to Nostradamus, on and on and on. So moving forward, so we see financial systems, banking systems breaking down. All right, and I had the vision of the depression. Now there's also being shown to be new forms of crypto or digital currencies being rolled out. Proposals for gold-backed currency are likely to hit the table, if not April, soon after that. Doesn't mean it's going to happen that soon. But we saw this before, and also stimulus packages. We'll probably see something a little bit more concrete. And back, I don't know what month, but before that was even proposed, we got a psychic hit on stimulus packages rolling out. I think this was at the very beginning of the Trump administration, or maybe a little bit before. Now, I also got this vision a while ago about the Statue of Liberty being surrounded by like planes or copters or drones. And then this could be symbolic of a terrorist attack. Watch out, New York City. Watch out, any coastal area, but Chicago, Toronto also came up. Texas came up. And there could literally be an event in the Statue of Liberty, like a bomb scare or something like that. That could be the reason that I had this vision, but it could be symbolic of our freedoms really under attack. And watch out for terrorism. Unfortunately, I feel like that's going to increase during this month. Now, I was also seeing both escalations of war efforts as well as escalations of movements towards ceasefire kind of happening simultaneously in April and moving into May and June, actually. Mideast, Eastern European remain the hotbeds, but Southeast Asia, more in the news. Iran, Yemen, and Syria, as I predicted before, these countries were, not Syria, but Iran and Yemen. And a nuclear threat escalates, or nuclear accident could happen. So they're showing like a nuclear detonation. I've seen more in the Middle East. I don't think that's going to come to pass, but that vision came up for a reason, to let us know that we are on the precipice of something like that. And again, we have help from higher sources. We'll be okay. Conversely, I see a lot of humanitarian efforts across the globe and outreach for victims of things like war, immigration, natural disasters, and stuff like that. I also got this image of horses breaking free of their pen. And horses, to me, represent freedom because it's a Native American symbol, a totem animal. So huge signs of movement towards freedom are coming. We are no cut, no edit today. Demonstrations out of control around the world. Here in the States, yes, Canada, UK, Eastern Europe, other countries, martial law instituted. Now, in this country, we could have a brief period of martial law in an isolated area or two for a variety of reasons, but we see that escalating. Now, numerologically, April is in 2025 is a 13 4 months. So part of the April psychic forecast is connected to numerology as well as the visions that I get in astrology. 13 is the number of death in Chaldean numerology as well as tarot. Death is change and transformation, not literal death. And that reduces to 4, which is Uranus rule. That's the number of change, evolution, revolution, surprises, and things like that. So it's going to be a very energetic and active month. What we need to do is stay in our heart, to stay in our power, not get so upset and wrapped up in what's going on in the world. Return to the heart, return to your higher vibration place. The less we get upset, the more we're able to make clear choices or choices of how we want to act and respond to things that's not fear-based, but it's more coming from a higher source. So try to avoid reactions no matter what we see. That's the bottom line. And also, Pluto just entered into Aquarius. That's Uranus ruled also. That is the sign also of evolution and humanity and higher mind. The last time that Pluto was in the early degrees of Aquarius, we had a revolutionary war here in the United States, as well as the French Revolutionary War. So we're seeing some of that. I got a vision of the Knight of Swords in my mind, and I believe that means there's going to be some kind of an unprovoked attack. It might be in the U.S., it may be in another country, but this could escalate war efforts or battle efforts, as it were, and it may, I'll put a stamp on the word may, promote a proposal for the draft in the U.S. I think if it ever comes to that, it'll be a modified draft. So I think we may hear that, especially towards later April. Joe Biden was in the news for some reason, maybe his health. Putin could step down or could pass on. We've gotten visions of things like that in the past also. Global intrigues lead to assassinations and I can't even read my own writing. Assassinations and things of that nature. A lot of intrigue. People like disappearances and stuff like that. I was seeing something with reporters getting possibly kidnapped or detained again. So watch out for that. They're also showing me a lot of sky anomalies and big solar flare could greet the month of April. This is being aired on April the 1st, being prepared on March the 30th. Possible shelter in place later in the month. Visions of airplanes grounded, nobody moving. I got this vision before I did my March psychic forecast, before the Heathrow incident, by the way. And to me, that could have been what I was seeing, but I think it's more, to be honest. I think it's more than that. Because I've seen just nobody moving. They're showing me cyber attacks threatening national securities also. Possible blackouts, regional, I want to say, or internet blackouts are possible. Now, in the whole time I've been on the Medium channel, including the whole of the pandemic, I never really sounded the alarm to be prepared and get supplies. I'm not sounding the alarm, but there's more urgency. Like I'm feeling it more that we could literally go into a period where we are either sheltering in place or supplies really get limited. It said back in the pandemic, I'd say, well, stock up, better safe than sorry, but I wasn't seeing it as extensively in that. And it's just a potential again. So get supplies, full spiritual leaders emerging, new voices for peace and spiritual evolution emerging, more spiritual awakening this month than we've ever seen. And that's very significant. If enough people awaken and we can affect collective consciousness, reach that 100th monkey, we can mitigate a lot of these challenging things, and things can flow much more smoothly from the old earth, which is crumbling now, to the new enlightened earth that we're coming into, basically. Um, times, yes, but that can lead to great change. That can lead to people stepping up as leaders, great minds coming up with great solutions, things like that. Similar to civil rights movements in the past and other things like that. They're also showing mass exposure of corruption. We've been saying this for many, many months now, and it's been happening, but I think it's going into a new level this month. And this can lead to new breakthroughs, concealed pandemic activities, we'll say, in the past, and treatment plans exposed. And the exposure would let us know, or give us another reason to believe that perhaps when it comes to the pharmaceutical companies, the big businesses, and the asset management companies, the governments that run them, and the cabal or deep state that in theory runs that, getting exposed, basically. Partial Epstein list possible. I don't know if we'll ever get the full Epstein list, to be quite honest, but we'll get more. Dirty politicians, globalist agendas, asset management company, big corps, media, deep state relationship with all of these gains more exposure. And people, when the truth comes out, I think people on both sides of the spectrum are going to be quite shocked. Because usually when there's a big divide, the truth lies somewhere in between that. But I think the people that are in more denial that we live in a very, very corrupt system, and even elections are corrupt, and the way that money and power flows is corrupt, I think they're going to be in for real, real shock. And I think we're going to see a lot of that coming out in April. Now, we're also seeing the fires continuing, another big month for fire. We forecasted that for March, and unfortunately it happened. Big U.S. earthquake is possible. You watch the Southern Plains area, California, and the Pacific Northwest to Alaska. They're all on the radar for that. But watch Yellowstone. I keep getting hits about something going on in Yellowstone, which is basically an underground volcano. Mount St. Helens. Could there be another eruption? I saw that in a vision briefly a few months ago. Southwest U.S. They're also pointing my attention to Spain and Portugal area for possible earthquake activity. Also the Ring of Fire, that's in the Pacific. Japan, Philippines, Southeast Asia, all those areas. Tsunami in Southeast Asia, Japan, certainly a possibility, something to be aware of. Earthquake off Alaska, continued activity around the Mediterranean, and more. Not all may happen. They also show me record heat in some areas, record severe weather like we predicted in March, and it happened. Lots of tornadoes in the U.S., floods, winds, hail, all that stuff. Now we are April is the beginning of severe weather season in the U.S., so that's from the perspective of nature and the perspective of a lot of turbulence. Again, the Earth is trying to counterbalance all the pollution and negativity laid on it, and things happen like more earthquakes. Earthquakes are natural. Severe weather is natural. It's just the numbers is being out of balance to try to counterbalance some of the activities on Earth, basically. I'm seeing more government and labor walkouts that might escalate, especially around mid-April. Tariffs going into effect but modified as U.S. and other countries seek a better balance and better solutions. I'm not going to go into detail about the European Union and Canada and their roles. I have that on a longer video. They also show me more sinkholes, emerging, like the one that we just had in Seoul, South Korea. And that was a prediction for March also. Severe weather and more of that. More news around Greenland. And how I feel like it's not going to be settled, or it's going to be divided, but understand gold is being discovered as the glaciers melt, and also minerals used in technology. So it's not only a strategic location. There's a lot of wealth in Greenland also that they're aware of, basically. So anyway, getting back to Donald Trump, he's likely to face extreme pushback from both parties as well as other countries. So that's going on. We already see that escalating last month. That'll continue. We also are aware of health problems that may surface more, that may compromise his abilities. I'm feeling my head. He could conceivably have a stroke or something. I mean, I don't wish, no matter what my political views are, I don't wish harm on anybody, to be honest. Assassination attempt, that's been on the table for April since, gosh, the beginning of the year. Now April is here. Let's see if something changed in the timelines and that doesn't actually happen, but watch out for that, I want to say. Impeachment either happens or it's proposed in April, and this can lead into a movement through, I think it has to go through either the House or the Senate or just the Senate for him to actually be removed from office. Remember, he was impeached twice in his first term, basically. So basically, I see things moving in that direction. I don't think, to be clear, that he's going to step down in April unless there is like an assassination issue or a health thing or something like that. But if it's just based on world politics, the pushback from the world, things of that nature, I'm looking at July as a very likely timing that would happen. But there's still time for him and that administration to right their ship and to maybe be a little bit more, what's the right word, homogeneous with the rest of the world. I mean, he can still be Donald Trump. He can still have his ideas, what he wants to do in this country or whatever. But I think if he's more aware, more strategic, and it's not necessarily Trump, it's his advisors, and kind of plays a little bit more nice while still maintaining, his objectives. He doesn't have to be forced down. But the way things are going, that's what I'm seeing in these current timelines. And I'm also seeing a potential, if he lasts, for that to happen within 2 to 3 years or so. I'm also getting a sense of friction with Elon Musk and either Trump or some people in the White House or the public that could force him to step down before his scheduled 130-day tenure runs out as a special government employee. And long and the short of it is, big government and global shakeup is coming, and April will be an extremely changeable month. And there's more. There's a lot more. And I have the long version of this video with things that I didn't mention in this video right over here for you. This was a live stream that we did. And for the top 10 predictions for the rest of 2025, that's in this video here. Thank you. Let's all open our hearts, raise our consciousness, and see these end times that we're in now into the new golden age that we're coming into.